Hello everyone, this is Avery. This is going to be the first in a series of screencast videos where I show you how to do some of the basic things that you'll need to do for English 91. So what I'm going to start with is how to format and save a Word document in order to format it the way that I need it and to be able to save it where you can find it. So what you see here is the screen that you will see when you open up Microsoft Word on any of the lab computers. This is the most recent version of Microsoft Word, so if you have older versions or if you have another program, then this opening screen might look a little bit different. So what I'm going to do is click Blank Document, and then here's the screen that you will see. So all of this, the things that we're going to want to pay attention to are this paragraph box, and this font box, and then the File tab right here. Anything else you can more or less not pay attention to. So the couple of things that I need you to do is double space your document, change your font to Times New Roman, and change that font size to 12. So I'm going to show you how to do that. So first thing I'm going to do is to choose to double space my paragraph. Now, double space does not mean pressing enter between each line. A really easy way to do that is to go up to this paragraph box, and there's a little button here. If you hover over it, it says line and paragraph spacing, so that's the one that we want. So we're going to click that button, and then we're going to scroll down to 2. That means it's double spaced. So I'm just going to give you a short little demonstration here. Okay, so you can see this sentence automatically has 2 lines between it. If I were to go back and to the default, here's what I would see. That's not correct, so I would just want to go ahead and instead of pressing enter between these 2 lines, choose 2. Now, I want to pause a minute and show you a feature of Word that you may or may not be familiar with. It's called spell check. So if I look at this little red wavy line here, I've misspelled this word, so that's what this means, is that this spelling is not correct. So I'm going to right click that, and it's going to come up with a couple of choices here. Now I know that the word that I meant is tutorials, so I'm going to choose tutorials. Now a really important thing is here, if there is more than a few choices and they all look like different words, then they probably are different words. So sometimes a spelling error can happen, and spell check does not always give you the correct suggestion. So it's really important that if you're not really familiar with any of those words, that you actually check them either in a dictionary or a thesaurus, so you know the meaning of the word and you know that it matches your word. So I'm going to click tutorials, and so that's what it does. It automatically corrects it. So, okay, so back to double spacing. So now that I have double spaced, I'm going to want to change the font. So I'm going to highlight everything. I'm going to go up to this font box, and this box is the name of the font. Now, the font that I want you to use is called Times New Roman. So what I'm going to do is just start typing the name of that font. So I see that it is starting to come up here, Times New Roman, and then I'm just going to press enter. You can also scroll all the way down to T, but I feel like if you could just start typing it and it shows up, then that's probably better. So, I also see that the font size is 11, so I'm going to click this drop down menu and I'm going to click 12. So now everything is formatted the way it should be. So that was pretty easy, pretty simple. The nice part about this is that even before you start typing, you can do all of this. So if I hadn't typed at all, I could still go to double space, I could still change the font, I could still change the font size, and that way it's just all set up for me to start. Okay, so last thing I'm going to show you how to do here is to save your file. It is really, really, really important that you save your file early and that you save it frequently, especially if you're working in the lab computers. So what I'm going to do is choose File, and I'm going to choose Save As. I don't want to choose Save, and I'll explain why in a minute. Choose Save As, and I'm going to go ahead and click Browse. Okay, so first thing I'm going to want to do is to give it a title. So I'm going to say, I'm going to give it a descriptive title, and the reason is I want to give it a descriptive title because I want to be able to find it later. The thing that I find in a lot of student papers is that they will just use their names or use a non-descriptive title. So if you have, for example, 17 documents with just my name, I don't know which is which. And if I'm going back to find my StoryCorps paper and there's 17 documents that just have my name on it, then I have to open up each of those 17 documents. So it's really just easier to just title it StoryCorps paper, for example. Here's the other important thing. If you're on a lab computer, you do not want to save it to downloads, you do not want to save it to documents, and you do not want to save it to desktop. That only saves it to that lab computer. And you don't want to do that because as soon as you leave that lab computer, as soon as you go home, that document will disappear off of that lab computer. You can't save it. You also can't access it from home. So if you have a thumb drive, a flash drive, if you want to use your student drive, which I think is your H drive, you can use that. So I'm going to pretend that this is my home computer, so I don't have access to my Highline drive. But I'm going to pretend that this is my flash drive. So I'm going to click this. And so here you'll see all of my documents or all of my folders that are on this separate drive. So I could save it here. This would not be on this computer. It would be on a separate drive, so that would be totally okay. Okay, so I'm going to click Save. I'm going to double check that this Save As type says Word document, because Canvas will only accept Word documents and PDFs. But if you're using any version of Word, not WordPad, but Word, or if you're using any of the lab computers, then you should be totally fine and you won't have to worry about it. So I'm just going to save it, and that way I know where my document is, I know that it is saved in a safe place. And then we'll come back to this when we are talking about how to submit documents on Canvas, but that's it for now.